Today, I'm going to talk about how you can stand out as a product management candidate in 2023. If you're currently applying and interviewing for PM roles, you know firsthand that it's not easy. It takes a lot of hard work to stand out from the hundreds or sometimes thousands of job applicants to get that first interview. And then when you're in the many rounds of interviews, you need to be close to exceptional in each one to be competitive against all the other candidates. Tech companies are typically hiring PM candidates for one role. And because a PM hire can make or break that team, companies have a really high bar for candidates. And because they get so many candidates, they can have a high bar. So they hire the best person out of the bunch. In this video, I'm going to give you tactical pieces of advice for what you can do to stand out in the application and interview process to increase your chances of landing an offer. My first piece of advice is for the application process, and it's to go above and beyond while networking. There's a lot of levels to this, so let me break it down. First off, you need to get over the fear of reaching out to random people at companies. It's natural as a human to not want to bother other people, but when it comes to getting a job, the people who are getting the offers are the ones actively seeking them out. You should be messaging as many relevant people as you can find at a company about the opportunities there. I recommend doing this over email since fewer people take the time to find someone's email address and reach out, but when in doubt, you can always use LinkedIn. The second layer here is that your message needs to be hyper customized. Product people at companies may get dozens of emails every day. Vendors reaching out to them to sell software, Jira tickets from their engineering team, newsletters they've signed up for. In order for you to stand out in someone's inbox and actually get a response, it needs to be customized to each person, and you need to make it worth their while. Ask yourself the question, what could I say in this email to make it worth them spending time responding to me or eventually talking to me? Okay, so you know your email needs to be customized and high value, but how can you actually do this? The first step is to research. Look through their LinkedIn, look to see if they've posted any blog articles on the internet, look to see if they have a professional Twitter presence. Chances are you can find something about them that is unique. Referencing that unique attribute as a hook in your email will really increase the chances of getting them to read the whole thing. The third layer here is that now that you've gotten someone influential in your company to read your email, you need to really impress them. What this means is that you need to demonstrate that you've done your homework about the company. Reference problems they may be working on solving at that given moment, reference industry trends that could be useful to them, link out to your product portfolio for relevant case studies. In an ideal world, you will have completed a case study within the industry that you can reference in this email. Doing this extra level of research and customization, while it will take longer, will definitely significantly increase your chances of getting a response and ultimately getting referral. You may be asking, why are referrals so important? The answer is that a role may get hundreds or thousands of applications, and getting bumped to the top of the pile for review and consideration could be the difference between getting an interview and not. So it's worth putting in all of this extra effort to get a chance at that interview. Okay, now that we've gotten through ways to increase your chances at getting an interview, I'll now cover various ways to actually level up in the interview process. Not to state the obvious, but your performance in the interviews directly correlates to the number of offers you end up getting. Just as with anything, the more you practice and get better, the better your ultimate outcome will be. So to dive in, one of the biggest places I see PM candidates struggle with is with analytics. Data is a critical aspect of being an effective PM, so rightfully so, companies are testing candidates on it. They want to see a pretty high ability when it comes to data fluency. In other words, understanding data and how to use it in decision making. If you lack the ability to easily speak about analytics, it would be wise to take an online course, watch videos, generally level up your data skill set before getting deep into the product management interviews. You obviously don't need to be performing at the level of a data analyst or scientist, but you should be able to speak confidently and concisely when it comes to data. The next area I see candidates struggle with is in the way they respond to questions. They typically respond like they're having a very casual conversation with a friend, and they may ramble on and not actually ever get to the point. Or they'll be extremely nervous and not confident in their answers. While it should feel like you're just having a conversation with the interviewer, because you are, you need to remember that they're interviewing and grading your answers on a set of predetermined competencies. Competencies like being user-focused, fluency in data, collaboration, introspection, etc. When candidates ramble on or mumble, they make it much more difficult for the interviewer to take away whether or not they have proficiency in any of those areas. I strongly encourage candidates to make sure their answers are very structured and follow an easy to understand story arc. Use response formats like the point-by-point method, where candidates sequentially break down their responses into organized segments, each clearly addressing different aspects of the question, or the STAR method, where candidates articulate a situation, task, action, and result that followed. These structured interview response techniques really help the candidates to provide meaningful and concise answers that also allow interviewers to identify their competencies and skills. Make sure to always emphasize the impact or takeaway an interviewer should have after an answer. Also, keep it pretty high level and easy to understand. Remember that the interviewer has no idea what you're talking about to begin with, so avoid acronyms or very specific technologies the interviewer may not be familiar with. But when in doubt, explain a concept to an interviewer so that they do have full context. Another big piece of advice I have is to really research a company before interviewing with them. This starts at the recruiter screen. I've had recruiters ask me if I've used their app before and what I like about it. Not doing basic research like this could prevent you from even getting past the recruiter screen. To dive a level deeper here, I think it is absolutely critical that you have an understanding of a company's core business model, target user, core product or products, competitors, and challenges that they're facing. Knowing all these aspects to a company will dramatically help you in the interview process because you'll be able to reference them throughout your answers and questions. For example, you may be answering a question about a past project you worked on. You could say, and that is why we decided to ship a version of our onboarding experience that did not ask for a user's gender. I imagine there may be some crossover with your user base. Has your team investigated there? This is a short example of a very strong answer because you've clearly already started to think about their user base at a deep level, and you're creating a back and forth with the interviewer, showing that you're really curious to learn more about their users. The other area this is applicable is when you're asking questions at the end of an interview. Writing really strong questions could actually tip you over the edge if you do it right. Going back to the business model, users, competitors, you want to create questions that demonstrate you've taken a lot of time to understand their company at a deep level. This shows them that if you got the offer, you'd hit the ground running because you're already thinking about problem areas. So instead of asking a basic question like, so how is your team structured? Are there engineers or product designers? You could ask a question like, I understand your target user is a hospital administrator and most product functionality that you've built is geared towards solving problems they have. But I noticed administrators in nurses' offices in schools have very similar problems. Has your team considered expanding to different customer segments like this, or are you very hyper-focused on this hospital administrator avatar? This shows that you've done your research about the target customer, the product, and business model, and are already thinking about how to grow their business in the future. My final piece of advice here is to practice. It may feel very silly to practice out loud to yourself, but in my opinion, it is critical. Practice really does make perfect, and the more that you can share stories and perfect your delivery, the better. Interviewers, again, are looking for a very specific set of competencies, and if you can hand deliver them on a silver platter, the chances you get an offer skyrocket. On the other hand, if your stories are all over the place and don't really have a point to them, you will not perform well. Sit down for 30 minutes or an hour each night and practice how you would respond to different questions. Perfect your answer to questions like, tell me about yourself, or why do you want to work here? These questions are going to be asked a lot. If you put in the hard work in the preparation phase, the execution phase will hopefully be a piece of cake, and it'll all be worth it when you land a 6-figure offer. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more PM content and drop a like. And if you want to dive deeper into any other PM topic, check out my channel. Thanks for watching.